Imagine commanding an army of thousands marching hundreds of miles from home through hostile lands with no grocery stores, no trucks, and no GPS. Yet somehow you keep your soldiers fed, armed, and ready to conquer. How did they do it? That's the secret of Roman logistics, the unsung hero of Rome's unstoppable empire. In this video, we're diving deep into how the Romans mastered the art of supply chains, built roads that still stand today, and kept their armies fighting across 3 continents. Stick around, because by the end, you'll see why Rome's logistics were as deadly as their swords. Let's set the stage. At its peak, the Roman Empire stretched from Britain's foggy hills to Egypt's scorching deserts, over 2 million square miles. Feeding, arming, and moving armies across these distances wasn't just a challenge, it was a make-or-break necessity. One bad harvest, or one delayed shipment, and your legion could face starvation or mutiny. Logistics wasn't glamorous, but it was the backbone of Rome's conquests. Think about how Julius Caesar in Gaul and Trajan in Dacia relied on logistics to secure their victories. These campaigns were fought 500 to 1,000 miles. Without a steady flow of food, weapons, and reinforcements, those victories would have been impossible. So, how did they do it? Let's break it down. First up, roads. The Romans didn't just build roads, they engineered masterpieces. By the empire's peak, according to some estimates, they had over 250,000 miles of roads, with 50,000 miles paved in stone. That's enough to circle the earth twice. Roads like the Via Appia or Via Traiana were the arteries of the empire, moving troops, supplies, and messages at record speed. These weren't dirt paths. Roman roads were built to last, with layers of gravel, sand, and massive stone slabs, sometimes set in concrete. They were cambered for drainage, so rain wouldn't turn them into mud. And get this, some are still in use today. They even had milestones every Roman mile, about 1,480 meters, to help travelers navigate. Along these roads, the Romans built mansiones, rest stops every 10 to 15 miles with food, beds, and fresh horses for couriers. The Cursus Publicus, Rome's imperial courier system, used these to relay messages at up to 50 miles a day. That's faster than some modern mail in remote areas. Imagine you're a general in Britannia, and you need orders from Rome, 1,200 miles away. Thanks to these roads and couriers, you'd get them in weeks, not months. That's game-changing. Now, let's talk supplies. Feeding an army of 5,000 to 10,000 men, plus horses and camp followers, was a nightmare. A single legion needed about 1.5 tons of grain daily. The Romans had a multi-pronged approach to keep the food and gear flowing. First, they lived off the land. Legions requisitioned food from local farmers, grain, livestock, wine. But they had to be careful. Take too much, and you'd spark a rebellion, like Publicus in Britannia in 60 CE. So, commanders balanced force with diplomacy, often paying or allying with locals for supplies. For long-term campaigns, Romans built horaea, massive granaries, at forts and cities. Think of them as ancient warehouses, storing grain, oil, and wine for months. Along frontiers like Hadrian's Wall or the Rhine, these depots kept garrisons fed through harsh winters. Every soldier carried portable rations, butylatum, a hard biscuit like today's hardtack, and posca, a mix of vinegar and water. These lasted weeks and were supplemented by meat, cheese, or whatever they could forage. Standardization was key. Every legion got the same gear, from swords to sandals, making resupply predictable. For bulk goods, the Romans turned to water. Ships carried grain from Egypt's breadbasket to Rome, feeding millions. River fleets on the Rhine and Danube moved supplies faster and cheaper than wagons. Ports like Ostia were logistical hubs, unloading thousands of tons of cargo yearly. This is a replica of an amphora, used to carry wine, oil, or fish sauce. One ship could carry thousands of these, feeding entire legions. Land transport? Way slower. A mule could carry 200 pounds, but a barge could haul tons in one go. Roman logistics weren't just about stuff, they were about people. Each legion, about 5,000 men, was a self-contained machine. They had questors to manage supplies, engineers to build bridges, and artisans to repair gear. Soldiers carried tools like the dalabra, a pickaxe, to build camps every night. Every evening, a legion built a fortified camp with ditches, palisades, and tents. This protected supplies and troops from ambushes. It was like a pop-up fortress, ready in hours. And get this, archaeologists still find these camps across Europe. Romans also leaned on auxiliaries, non-citizen troops, and local allies. These guys brought horses, scouts, or extra grain, easing the burden on Roman supply lines. In Gaul, Caesar allied with tribes to secure food, saving his legions from starvation. Campaigns were planned years in advance. Governors and generals studied terrain, climate, and local resources. The Cursus Publicus kept them connected to Rome, ensuring orders and supplies arrived on time. This wasn't improvisation, it was strategy. Let's see this in action. Take Julius Caesar's siege of Alesia in 52 BCE. He trapped Vercingetorix's 80,000 Gauls with 60,000 Romans. How? Logistics. Caesar built 25 miles of fortifications to surround the enemy and protect his own supply lines from Gallic reinforcements. His troops were fed by pre-positioned depots and local requisitions, while the Gauls starved. Or look at Trajan's Dacian Wars, 101 to 106 CE. Roman engineers built bridges over the Danube, some over 1,000 meters long, to move troops and supplies into hostile territory. They stockpiled food at forward bases, letting them fight for years. These victories weren't just about swords, they were about planning, roads, and keeping the supply chain tight. It wasn't all smooth sailing. Long distances, rough terrain, and enemy attacks tested Roman logistics. In Germania, dense forests and ambushes, like the Teutoburg forest disaster in 9 CE, wrecked supply trains. In Parthia, deserts stretched resources thin. The Romans adapted. They fortified supply routes with watchtowers and garrisons. They timed campaigns for spring and summer, when foraging was easier and roads were clear. In winter, they holed up in Castra Hiberna, fortified camps stocked with months of supplies. But pushed too hard, and locals pushed back. In Britannia, Boudicca's revolt started partly because Romans overtaxed local resources. Smart commanders learned to balance force with alliances. Roman logistics turned a city-state into an empire. Roads, granaries, ships, and planning let Rome project power across continents, sustaining armies for decades. From Caesar's Gaul to Hadrian's Wall, logistics kept the empire running. Next time you think of Rome, don't just picture gladiators or legions. Picture the mule trains, the granaries, the roads that made it all possible. Rome didn't just fight wars, it mastered the art of keeping them going. That's the story of Roman logistics, the machine behind the empire. What do you think was the most impressive part? The roads? The planning? Let me know in the comments. If you loved this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more history breakdowns. Want more on Roman campaigns like Alesia or the Dacian Wars? Tell me below and I'll make it happen. Until next time, keep exploring history.